Yo, shout out to Emmerich's Games because I got this topic from him, and I've mentioned this a little bit in my past, but man, you really do gotta, man, be careful who you choose to be your friend, bro. I have three stories specifically that I'd like to share. One of them I do believe I've shared before because these are three people that I really thought that were my friends that we were going to be friends for life, and we just aren't now. The funny thing about trust is that it can get broken in a single instant, even if you build it up over a lifetime. It really doesn't matter. If your trust is betrayed, then that's it, and you cannot just get it back. It's not an easy thing, and it's really impossible, honestly. The only reason that you think that you could get your trust back is because the other person is being gracious enough to give you another chance, but they'll always be looking behind their back, having eyes in the back of their head, no matter what you do. The trust will never be rebuilt. Even if you think it is at 100%, it'll always be at 75, and that's it. We have to stop being someone's friend because of their friends, not because of who you two are, but because the people that they hang around are honestly such a negative impact in your life that you actually have to remove yourself. That leads me into topic number one. Unfortunately, I had a good friend that's still honestly a good person to this day, but at the end of the day, my things would literally come up missing almost every time that I went over his house because he had other people who were his friends that were always coming over around the same time as me. And I was the kind of person who wasn't really minding any of that, except for the fact that my stuff was getting stolen, of course. But I like to have friends. But hey, at the end of the day, you really just got to understand what's best for you. If you're losing about $70 every time you go somewhere, then maybe you got to just stop going. Friendship, it really kind of just fizzled out over time for the simple fact that I didn't show up anymore because, like I said, I don't like my stuff missing, and there's no reason for me to have to worry about my stuff getting stolen every time that I go hang out with a friend. Honestly, I really hate that it ended that way because we used to just hang out, watch anime, play the game, and have good times. But at the end of the day, if you're literally having a net negative every time, if there's the actual possibility of you being robbed every time you go over somewhere, then there's just really no reason to show up. Now, maybe if later in life you didn't have those same friends, then I could go back and would be like, hey, reminisce, have a good time. But as far as my stuff getting stolen, that's just not happening to me anymore. I lost two things over the course of that friendship was $70 worth of flour when I used to smoke, and then the other thing was my PlayStation Vita along with games that were inside of it in the area. So that really sucks. So overall, that's about at least about $450. That is not something to take lightly. If you have a friend that you lost $450 with just because you are in close proximity to, would you want to be that person's friend? Honestly, survey says not really. Talking about money, the second friend is actually funny enough financially related as well, and also flower related back when I used to do the puff puff back in the day. So I'll just say it short and simple. Honestly, he used to buy from someone, and then I used to buy from him because he was a friend and a trustworthy person at that. And guess what happened? I bought something from him, and it did not have any impact on my state of mind. Didn't change my physical state. I just felt the smoke going away. I was smoking dollars, not cents. What do I mean by that exactly? Well, I mean that I literally didn't get high and I bought over 200 and something dollars worth of flour from the person. And at the end of the day, that was not something that I was willing to do. And he said that, yeah, he got it from his person and that guy got him as well. But I guess we got in the process. Is that right? That's not really cool with me. Sorry to say, I can't really be your friend if you're going to be willing to screw me over because you got screwed over. I'm sorry, man. Like, hey, you should have told me that in the first place and he knew that. So at the end of the day, that's just not right. And that's not just me thinking about it as if, oh, this is probably what happened. No, honestly, the funny thing is, this person actually ran away from a different neighborhood because he got involved with some people that were not good people. And now this is the part where I'm thinking about things that I don't know, but I have an inkling of a suspicion that I can say it, that this person was running away because of a bad deal. If he dealt someone bad and that person was willing to retaliate against him for that reason, and for that reason he fled to go somewhere else. And that's my suspicion because of after what happened, because he knew what he did. Moral of these two stories is that if you're going to have a financial net negative on being someone's friend and it's not because you're actually willingly helping the person, then you need to go ahead and get out of that area and get out of that relationship because it's not something that you want to be in long term or short term because no one likes having money taken out of their pocket, especially when it wasn't even something that you had offered yourself. Now, this third person that is no longer my friend is actually the worst of them all for the simple fact that we were actually friends from childhood. Quite literally, since I've been like 8 years old, I've known this person, and I'm 27 now. So I stopped knowing this person about the age of 26 because of a lot of things, but there was one thing that really just ended it all. And it was actually that person who ended the friendship, not me. I believe I have actually talked about this person on my other video. I'm not 100% sure, but literally my lifelong friend, and we have been friends for over 20 years or almost 20 years. But what really ended it was this person was doing really unfortunately down their luck, and I decided to help them out in the sense of, hey, giving you a place to stay rent free. I just want you to work. We had rules. The only rules were, hey, you need to work and you need to clean up after yourself. Those are the only two things I want out of you. If you can't do those two things, then I didn't even threaten anything. Actually, that's all I said is I just want those two things out of you. He said, yeah, we can do that. And then I had them come over to my place. I gave them a place to sleep, gave them, get a little area to have their little private space as much as I could, which was literally the living room. But guess what? The living room was my area, so I sacrificed that already. And I just said, I want to help you. You're my friend, and that's all there is to it. Did not do much work. They maybe worked 3 days a week at most, and then on top of it, this person did not clean up after themselves. In fact, it actually actively made messes and messes and messes. And when I say messes, I don't just mean like not picking up a plastic thing off the floor, maybe a wrapper or two. No, I mean, well, first things first, they had vitamins, and I guess they spilled the vitamins the moment they came in the door because their suitcase wasn't completely closed, and those vitamins were being found until the day I moved out. That day I moved out was about 6 months after that person left, and that's crazy. That they did not clean up after themselves. And then the trash can that I gave them to take the trash, I said, hey, take your trash out every day. Don't be lazy. Just go ahead and get that done. So instead of doing that, they actually stuffed trash in the trash can so much to where it was literally trash bag on top of trash bag. And then when I finally took it out because I just couldn't stand seeing it any longer and I cleaned up, there was actual biomes in there. What is a biome? Well, an area where life forms exist, and there was actual life forms in that trash, and I mean that. So I took off one layer, and then a swarm of gnats, a literal cloud of gnats flew out of it, and they just hit me in the face, and I was like, what is happening here? There was not just not cleaning up after yourself, it was like actively intentionally making a mess. Now, was that person actually actively intentionally making a mess? I don't think so, but they had absolutely no will to get up and put trash in the trash can. And that's just the one of the many things. And like I said, I was stepping on these vitamins. They were little gel-filled vitamins, and I was stepping on them every single day. And then on top of that, like I said, the person wasn't working. So I would do 12-hour days at my job, and then I'll come home to see one person playing my video games that I pay for and not doing any work, not doing anything that we agreed to. And I didn't appreciate that in any way, shape, or form. So they were literally costing me money because putting more power into the system and, my power bill. On top of that, not cleaning up anything ever and just not working. So it's just a whole lot of different, really those two specific things just combined into the worst experience that I've had in a good while. But guess what? I didn't actually stop being this person's friend. I told them that we were still friends. Now, the agreement was that they were going to be here from anywhere from 2 weeks to a month so that they can get some money in their pocket and then go back home and get a job that they had already applied for, which was a good deal. No rent, eat some money, go back home, have a job, and then have your life better. And instead of that, this person decided to not really work, 3 days a week maximum. When I said if you have work every day, work every day. And I saw the shifts. I would send them shifts. And because it was an app called InstaWork where we do work, and that's just, simple and easy. But long story short, with that being said, they weren't doing that. They weren't cleaning up. So then the job that they were trying to get 2 weeks in actually called them, say, hey, we need to get an interview. And then I said, okay, time for you to go home. And guess what this person said? No, I'm not going to go home. I'm going to stay here longer with you because I enjoy being with you. And I told them from the jump, I didn't say this earlier, but at the end of the day, I said, this is not a vacation. This is just for you to get on your feet because they were really doing bad. And when I say bad, I mean really bad, like almost homeless. And I don't want that for anybody that I know that I see as a friend. So I try to help them up off their feet, but they were just taking everything for granted. And that's just what happened. 2 weeks go by, the job calls them. They ask for an interview, and he goes to go back home to get that interview. I told him good luck, and then I hope he gets it. So then he goes to the interview. He calls me back the next day. He says, well, I guess I'm coming back with you. And then I'm like, what? And he says, yeah, the job said that they don't need me. They already got someone for the position. And at that point, I just thought about everything that he kind of put me through, because he really did kind of put me through the ringer in the sense of mentally, because he just wasn't doing anything and not respecting any of my rules. And it was really simple rules. It wasn't much. And I told him at that point, I just said, no, you're not coming back here, man. I'm sorry, but you're not coming back here, because at the end of the day, you really disrespected my rules. I gave you some really easy rules to follow. It was nothing serious. I gave you much more than what anybody else would have gave you. I didn't charge you rent, things of that nature. I didn't charge you power. I didn't charge you anything. You just had to do your own thing. And guess what happened? He said, okay. And I said, okay. And I said, hey, we're still friends. You can still call me. But as far as living with me, that's just not happening. And mind everybody that I had a 2-bedroom apartment. But the thing is, I already had a roommate. Me and my other friend, my friend from high school, were roommates. So like I said, he was in the living room The living room is usually where I stay at the same time, in the sense of I play my games and stuff like that. So it's just like, okay, I don't have that space any longer. He's actually there at all times because he's supposed to be at work, but he's not at work. And he's there way more than I ever am now. Now I'm actually relegated to my room, and I thought about taking my game system in my room just to kind of like take from him so that he could do something for himself and not be so comfortable having my game system. But I kind of felt like that was messed up and rude, so I didn't do it. But I actually regret it now because I really feel like we could probably still be friends to this day if he hadn't, if I hadn't been so lax on, if I gave him more rules to follow, I feel like he would have had that respect and actually did the things I asked him to do. But I don't know. And the reason that we are not friends now to this day is actually because of him. Because I told him that we were still friends, but guess what? Lo and behold, I go to call him again, have a regular conversation. He doesn't pick up. And then, like I said, I didn't say this, but I literally called him over like 50 times in a week because I'm like, okay, now I need to find out if this dude is like, okay. I text him everything. I was like, hey, man, you just need to contact me. Like, I don't know what's going on. If you're, I want to make sure you're not dead at least, you know? And so then the funny thing is, he wasn't, because I found out later that he posted on Facebook like, "Hey, I'm at the Vince Staples show. Stop hitting my line." And I'm like, "Dude, I've been calling you for the past week. I don't know who Vince Staples is. I don't know if it's a joke, but it kind of seemed like one." So at that point, I was like, "Okay, so he definitely doesn't care." I could tell that he's pretty irritated about the fact that I said you're not coming back to live with me, and he allowed his issues to become our issues. And with that being said, I just say, you know what? Technically, he made that decision by ignoring me because, in the simple fact is that I did not appreciate the fact that he ignored me after everything I did for him. But on top of that, really, there's just the fact that he was posting on Facebook about things, and he wouldn't even answer the whole "I'm not dead" thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to make sure that you're at least alive. So he's not giving me any of that, and on top of it, he's ignoring me and posting about me, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. I actually feel, I kind of feel like a cuck, and there's no female involved. You know what I mean? It just feels like, nah, I don't like this. So what I did personally, I literally blocked him, blocked his number, blocked his Facebook, because I didn't want to see all that stuff if all he was going to do at the end of the day was just be like, yeah, I'm still here, but I'm not talking to you. And I'm like, oh, so this is what we're doing. Okay. So instead of me just taking the L and just saying, yeah, I guess this is just my life now. No, I'm just going to be like, okay, you made it very clear. You have no interest in being friends any longer. You're going to call it a day. You're going to call it a life. So a lie. So technically, I made the last decision, but in reality, he made the decision way before. I just confirmed it by not allowing myself to feel disrespected repeatedly. So, man, at the end of the day, guys, you got to really just be careful who you choose as your friends. But it's not even just that. It's really just, really don't slack. If someone's going to show you who they are, then trust them the first time. Because if I'm being honest, there was many different times in the past to where, he kind of did me dirty. He asked to borrow money from me, and I just said, yeah, okay. And then, hey, guess what happens? I don't get that money back until I damn near hound him for it. Like, legitimately, like, dude, what are you doing? You're supposed to give me my money back. And the thing is, in the past, we had the same issue a long time ago. So, like, long story short, these things happen, okay? But that's just it. And it's funny to realize that most of these situations involve some kind of money of some sort, and some time. There's always some money involved. So money can really ruin a friendship if it's not respected. For people, so honestly, I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to new friends, like, you can do whatever. You can have anybody as your friend. But when it comes to new friends, if you can at least have discernment for who respects their money and who doesn't, I think that can actually help save you, I guess you could say, a heartache or relationship problems, whatever. Just try to find out who respects their money. You know what I mean? Because people who don't respect their money isn't going to respect your money. And that doesn't just mean dollars in their hand. That just means dollars out of your hands. If someone's going to, because if I'm being honest, when dude, I'm going to complain a little bit more. But when I picked my friend up to have him live with me for a month, he spent all his money on weed. And that really was like, I didn't even realize that. He actually had $200 to his name. And then a weekend, he starts to beg me for food. And I do mean beg, because he got a job that gave him free food. But then he would be like, man, I just need to go grocery shopping. Can you help me? And then I'm just like, dude, where's your money? He's like, I spent it all. And then he was literally high all day, every day, bro. Like all day, every day. All day, every day. So when I say these things, money, if you can find someone who respects their money, and when it comes to friendships, I think that in just relationships, period. Like you can with the girl, you know what I mean? I think that is something that might be like a hidden rule that a lot of people don't even think about. And I didn't think about it until just now after I explained these things to like these friends that I've explained to you guys. Like, man, find someone who respects their money. And if you can do that, I think that you will earn more respect from that person. And the respect that you deserve, of course. Not like, oh, you're my king. But yeah, dude, guys, that's the video right there. I appreciate you guys for listening once again to me yap a lot, and I appreciate MRXX Games for giving me that video idea because I had some stuff to say about that as well. And with that being said, you guys, I really hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and yeah, we'll be back.